Okay, so now we'll be taking a look at creating an API gateway. So the API gateway would be the entry point to our application where the client would connect to. So let me create a new application. This will be post API gateway. This will be named as, I'm calling it as a gateway, a new window. And for the API gateway, there are certain dependencies which are separate compared to the previous services that we have seen. So I won't be taking the parent API in this case, but it would have its own Spring Boot parent. So Spring Boot parent. So let me grab it from the parent service and I would add it over here. Then it has its own dependencies. One would be the Spring. Okay, so one of them would be the Spring Cloud Starter Gateway Server Webflux. Now, the name of this dependency would be confusing, but let me open it up and we see what it is. So, this is the new dependency that Spring API Gateway uses. That enables the creation of an API gateway using the Spring Cloud Gateway built on top of Spring Webflux. It's reactive and non-blocking, and microservice, it supports the microservice architecture, so on and so forth. So we'll be using that dependency in our case, and let me add that. Refresh it. And the other one is the logger, Lombok, and actuator. So we have logger, Lombok, and actuator. Let me grab them. So what I've added is the log4j, Lombok. This is Lombok as well, and the actuator. And at the same time, let me add the build plugin. All right. So this would have the properties as a dummy property for test. Okay. So let me refresh this. Now, one thing is, let me get rid of this. It's not even required. Delete. And I'll be adding a init class that would start the Spring Boot application. So let me grab it from the post service. Is the initializing class, which is responsible for starting the Spring Boot application, but I also probably create a package called config. Oh wait, I don't need a package right now. Let me paste this, and it should be called as API Gateway init. All right, and let me cancel, copy this and put it in here. We probably won't be needing this. And let me start the application. Also, let me try to add a try catch block. So if it fails, at least we'll get a log. Catch exception E and log dot error exception. e dot get message and and we also need an stack trace if possible. Exception utils. Mm, it isn't there anyways. Doesn't matter. So once this is there, let me start the application. Enable annotation processing. So this is okay. At least it started the application. And let me grab some of the properties or the YAMLs and the log4j. Copy this and paste it in here. Oh wait, cancel. Not here, but in here. Okay. This I'll be running on. No, wait, let me delete this. Rather, create it myself so that I can go through each of it, each of the properties that I'll be using. So this will be application.yml. And the first property that we are using is the basic server port. Server port, and port number will be 10100. That is good. And then we have Spring threads, virtual threads enabled, equal to true. Now I have enabled the virtual thread. Also will specify the name of the application. That will be post API gateway. Now this is important property, the cloud gateway property, where we specify what service that the API get, what URL the API gateway would be connecting to. So I'll specify this as cloud gateway server webflux routes. Now within routes, we need to specify the server information. So this will have an ID. The ID would be the name of the service that will be connecting to. So this will be, and it is not specific to any service. It's just you can name whatever you want, but I'll be using whatever the services that we are using. So in this case, it would be the user service. Then it has ID, then it has the URI. That would be the HTTP :// 192.168.29.206. And this is URI. Then we got the predicates. Now predicates specify the API that will be connecting to the path. In this case, the user service, it would be the user service. And let me open this up. It would be this path, the user service, and so on and so forth. So if I take a look at it, it would be this, right? So this part. And let me copy this. Predicates will have a path and stars are anything that precedes the path variable. It can be an ID, it can be any other path apart, I mean, that follows the user's slash. Okay, so this, and let me copy this, and it'll be similar for the other services as well. So let me do this, and this is comment service, or I should use a post service. Let's call it post service. The URI would be the same that we have deployed post service on. The path would be post service, and I'll grab it from the URL that we had access to. With this, so what the star star means is that if I execute this command, the stars are, I mean, the path would be up to this point. The URI is this part, and whatever comes later on would be accepted by the star star. So let's say if I enter load, then the double star would accept that as an input and would route it to the service that this ID is expecting to. So URL one more entry that needs to be done is for the comment service. So let me do that, comment service, and this would be, let me pick it up from here. Okay, this looks good, and I also need to put the management entry point, so let me grab that. Okay, this goes, let me put this as 110. All right, now let me run this on the local machine and try to access this. Okay, so the API gateway has started on this port, but first let me try to run the actuator. Get should be okay, so at least the actuator is working. So let me grab this, and it would be player service load. Let me run this, then goes as one. See, it tries to access the API gateway, and it is connecting to the server on the 206 IP. So if I take a look at this, but it does not print any log in here that it is trying to access. So as a result, in order to print the log, what we have to do is create another class, and that would be responsible for printing the logs. So this is called as logging filter. This class extends or sorry, not extends, it implements a interface called a global filter. All right, and this is a configuration class. So what I would do is, let me create a package in here, config, and let me put it inside this refactor. Okay, add configuration, and it should have a log4j2, and it will implement this method. Now, what this method is that whenever we execute any command or send any request to the API gateway, this filter would be called. Now, this, let me do this chain dot filter and just exchange. Okay. And whenever I make a call to this log.info filter call, this would make filter called. Okay, so let me restart this. So this can be used to log our request that is coming into the server. All right, so I am calling the comment service. As you can see, the filter is being called. So what we're going to do is use this function to log out the request, that the incoming request and the outgoing request as well. So let me do this. So there are certain things that we can grab from this exchange. So one, let me print this out, log.info called exchange. All right. And if I stop this and rerun it, all right. So, okay, dot to string exchange. So this is sort of like a map, right? So get attributes. Okay, let me print this out. Okay. So as you can see, there are certain attributes that are present in here. And this is the gateway request URL that we have made to. And this is the path attribute, so on and so forth. It was a post request, success. All of this information is available in here. So we gonna grab it out and put it into a log. All right. So if we take a look at the log information, there are certain things like the classes that are being specified. So what I'll do is do a object original URI and exchange dot get attribute and gateway predicate path gateway. Okay, so first, if I go to server web exchange utils dot gateway predicate, path container attribute. All right. So this will give me the original URI. And then I need to convert that to a string, or I can just make it string. This will be toString. All right. And then I need to get the service ID, and the service ID is present into the same class. So let me get service ID. That'll be equal to the exchange.get attribute. This will be gateway predicate matched path route ID attribute. All right. And what else do we need? We need a route all right, route is equal to exchange dot get attribute gateway dot gateway route attribute. Okay, and one more thing we need to put in here is URI route URI. That'll be gateway request URL attribute. So let me grab it from here. Gateway request URL attribute. Now I need to log all of this. Okay, so I'll be using log.info, and this will be incoming. Let's call it incoming request. The original URI would be this, along with service ID. Route and route URI. Original URI, service ID, route.get ID, and route URI. Now I have just put a limited information over here, but you can add any information that is required as per your need. Okay, so let me run this application now. And try to create the request again. And as you can see, we have certain information that is being put in here. So we have the path, then you have the service ID, then again the route can be this, and the route URI is this. That is the final outcome. So I don't think so the route is required because we are already using the service ID, or the route specifies the route that we are using over here, so it would be the comment service. That is the route. So yeah, in the next video we'll take a look at the deployment of this. Till then, bye.